Welcome, listeners, to the Restricted Handling Daily Intel Briefs What's Coming Up Next Week in the World podcast. We're looking at Sunday, June 7th, through Saturday, June 13th. We start in Europe, where EU defense ministers gather Sunday and Monday in Nicosia, Cyprus, for an informal meeting that still carries real weight. Ukraine support, European peace facility money, maritime security, freedom of navigation, and pressure on Russia's shadow fleet are all in the mix. Because this is informal, don't expect a giant Avengers-style communique landing from the sky. Do expect careful signaling on how Europe intends to keep money, weapons, and enforcement moving, while Moscow plays the old Soviet remix: deny, delay, and hope everyone gets tired. At sea, BALTOPS 26 continues Sunday through Friday across the Baltic. NATO navies are training in Russia's neighborhood, with surface warfare, anti-submarine work, amphibious operations, air defense, and maritime security on the menu. The key point is interoperability. The Baltic is now much more of a NATO lake than Moscow would like, and exercises like this rehearse that reality in public. Then, from Monday through Friday, NATO air forces run Ramstein Flag 2026 across Europe, from Norway to Spain. This is about integrated air operations, readiness, and deterrence at scale. The timing matters because Washington has been pushing European allies and Canada to shoulder more of NATO's air and naval burden. Expect a strong, we can still bring the heat message, but not necessarily a new policy package. Also on Sunday, OPEC Plus ministers meet, with Vienna listed officially and reporting pointing to online discussions. This matters because oil supply policy runs straight into the Middle East crisis, global inflation, and Russian energy revenues. Expect a compliance and reassurance session more than a dramatic reset. Markets will listen closely for language on output policy, disruption risks, and alternative export routes. Monday through Friday, the IAEA Board of Governors meets in Vienna. That's one of the week's major nuclear policy checkpoints. The board can touch safeguards issues, including Iran, North Korea, and other non-proliferation files. Expect every word from the Director General to be parsed like a Taylor Swift album drop, only with fewer friendship bracelets and more uranium. On Thursday, OPEC releases its monthly oil market report. After recent stress in Gulf energy flows, this report becomes a clean read on how the cartel sees demand, supply, and spare capacity. Watch revisions more than headlines. The real action is usually in the fine print, where energy markets love to hide the plot twist. China's May CPI and PPI numbers come Tuesday from Beijing. This is the cleanest official read next week on domestic pricing pressure and how energy or commodity stress is feeding through the world's second-largest economy. Producer prices may matter more than consumer inflation, because factory gate pressure is often where the bigger signal appears first. Beijing will want this to look calm and managed. The numbers may show how smooth that control act really is. In the United States, CPI lands Wednesday morning Pacific time, followed by PPI on Thursday. These are not security events in the narrow sense, but they shape rates, the dollar, energy expectations, and the operating environment for allies and adversaries alike. If oil keeps feeding inflation anxiety, Washington's economic room for maneuver gets tighter. Finally, Friday is Russia Day. Expect ceremonies, speeches, awards, and patriotic messaging centered on Moscow. The Kremlin usually treats days like this as stagecraft. Flags up, history polished, awkward realities tucked backstage. Listen for tone on the war, national resilience, and how Putin frames sacrifice to the public. On the watch list, keep an eye on any Nicosia readout on Ukraine funding or Russia's shadow fleet, any confirmation of renewed top-level China-North Korea engagement, pre-G7 positioning ahead of the June 15th to 17th summit in France, and the thread connecting NATO exercises this week to defense ministers later in June. That's the board for next week. Scheduled, grounded, and ready to track. Thanks for listening. If this episode was useful, take a second to leave a review or drop a comment. It makes a real difference in getting this in front of the right audience. We also publish a daily intel brief on Substack, restrictedhandling.substack.com, with deeper coverage on Russia, China, Iran, the Middle East, and the DPRK. Have a great rest of your day.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.